What is up, Dallas Cowboys fans? Welcome into another edition of the Dallas Cowboys Daily Blitz podcast right here on FanStream Sports over at FanStreamSportsDallas.com. Good morning to you. Welcome into the show. Hope you've got your scones, your crepes, your English muffins prepared this morning for some, I don't know, is it a beatdown yet talking about Dallas Cowboys trades, potential trades, possible trades? Because, you know, for all that we've heard all offseason, even as training camp approached, we heard things. We heard very specific things before camp. And now even as camp is underway, we keep hearing things. And I know it feels like the Cowboys are just doing that thing that they do all over again. They whisper something just loudly enough for like everyone to hear. And, you know, Stephen Jones says that he would be surprised if the defensive starters don't change over time. Jerry Jones keeps leaving the door open, just cracked just enough for a trade. Maybe even a blockbuster trade. You know, and then suddenly the one name that Cowboys fans that we all thought was dead and buried appears to be back on the table. And we're talking about Jordyn Brooks. Why are we talking about Jordyn Brooks, Tim? Dude's under contract. Well, look, let's be clear first of all. Jordyn Brooks is not a minor name to add to the roster. This is not just some depth piece that you would add to bolster the middle of your defense. This signing or trade would not be buried somewhere on the transaction wire. This dude would be a full volume statement that the Cowboys are tired of treating the linebacker position like a weekly science experiment. And that's what it's going to be without another move being made. And Dallas knows that. Christian Parker knows that. Brooks is coming off a monster season in Miami, 183 tackles. 13 of those were for loss, 3.5 sacks, and first-team All-Pro honors. He led the NFL in tackles and missed very few when he got there. That is not a Band-Aid signing. This would be a defensive mindset altering signing. The Cowboys clearly have young talent. We know they have athleticism. They have lots of guys who eventually might become real defensive answers. And good grief, my eyes are watering this morning. My apologies, guys. Allergies early in the morning. I'm recording, 7 a.m. for me comes very, very early. Sometimes I record these things before the freaking sun even comes up. But live it is. So look, they got guys that could eventually become answers on defense. They don't need more guys who they can develop. What they need is somebody who can walk into the huddle defensively and command attention, who can identify problems, who can erase problems, who can erase ball carriers. And Brooks does that. Now, I know what you're all saying. Because I said it too. There's just one big complication here, Tim. Brooks just signed a 3-year contract extension in Miami worth more than $50 million with 35 of that guaranteed. I know. And normally that ends the conversation of a trade. I get it. Teams don't normally extend an all-pro linebacker and then put them on the trading block before the ink dries. But the contract itself is what might make this thing possible. Miami already paid the signing bonus. Brooks' immediate salary would be much more manageable for the Cowboys if that was not the case. Now look, are the Dolphins eager to move him? No, of course not. Maybe the opposite. They've, in their ridiculous rebuilding, they may see him as a foundational player. They just paid him like one. And you know what? Reports probably indicate that Miami has no interest in dealing him. So why is this rumor breathing again? Why does this keep coming up? Well, I'll tell you why I'm bringing it up. I'll pull back the curtain a little bit. It's because of where the information is coming from for me. And that is from Brian Broaddus over at 105.3 The Fan. He knows stuff. He doesn't know everything. He knows stuff. And he has told Cowboys fans to keep an eye on Brooks and suggested that the Cowboys might be hunting for a bigger fish. I guess you don't hunt for fish. You fish for fish. You hunt for game. But you know what I mean. Than Bobby Wagner. And nothing against Bobby Wagner. I would love to have him. But look, when somebody like Brian Broaddus, I guess, tells you things like that, and I'm not saying he told me personally. This is things that he reports on the radio. I'd listen to the radio, as many of you do. When he says things like this, then there's a little smoke there. There's some fire there. I give it a lot more credit than I would if I heard it somewhere else. I'll tell you that. But you also can't treat this like a done deal, because it's not. And this is the part where Cowboys fans have to avoid the annual Jerry Jones hypnosis session. Look, Jerry Jones loves the Cowboys being connected to stars. Sometimes not even football stars. And the Cowboys can dominate this entire conversation without surrendering a draft pick or even making a move. Interest is not action. A phone call is not a trade. And a breadcrumb is not dinner. If Dallas wants Jordyn Brooks, Miami can demand premium capital because it has no reason to sell him low. The Dolphins just paid him. He's coming off an all-pro season. And I think that they think he is still central to what they are building defensively. Would you trade for a second-round draft pick, or would you use a second-round draft pick to trade for him? I mean, that feels a little rich for me. For an off-ball linebacker, even one with his numbers. But a third? I mean, I think we're talking now. And while a second-round pick seems a little rich, man, I don't even know that I would say no to that right now. If you're the Cowboys and you think this is it, this is the window, it's this year, then why not? I mean, I wouldn't do a first, but a second could be a stretch. But I would certainly consider it. And a third rounder for a guy like this, an absolute established tackling machine who immediately stabilizes the weakest level of your defense. I mean, that's the kind of move that serious contenders make. Are the Cowboys a serious contender? They think so. And look, draft picks are valuable. But Cowboys fans, we have watched enough developmental linebackers come through the building to understand that mystery boxes don't always contain Jordyn Brooks. And he's not the only name here. The other name hovering over the star in every defensive conversation that has to do with the Cowboys, yeah, I'm going to say it, Maxx Crosby. Jerry Jones recently reignited that entire circus with one little statement that Dallas never walked away from its interest in Maxx Crosby, that the Cowboys were not the ones that walked away from that conversation. And if that's the case, and I have no reason to believe that it's not, that's still on the table. Crosby's heard the noise. The Raiders have heard the noise. It seems like trade rumors are still following him into his morning rehab work. Crosby has also said he wants to be with the Raiders. And Las Vegas would have every reason to demand a ransom for Maxx Crosby. And this is kind of where fantasy football roster building crashes into real roster building, right? Crosby could change everything. We know what Crosby can do. We don't have an edge rusher like Maxx Crosby. Nobody has an edge rusher like Maxx Crosby except for maybe the Rams. Maybe Baltimore now. Way less expensive. Is he Maxx Crosby? No. But you're not paying that ridiculous premium price. He's not as glamorous as Maxx Crosby. He's not going to generate the same headlines as Maxx Crosby. Nobody's going to interrupt regular programming on their shows to make the announcement that Dallas acquired an inside linebacker. But Brooks would certainly fill a direct need here. He would bring proven production, and give the Cowboys something every good defense needs: reliability between all the chaos. The simplest move here of the three names that we're mentioning, Bobby Wagner. He's experienced, he's respected, and he would not cost you any draft capital. The Von Miller name is also out there. I'm seeing reports that Von Miller was in Oxnard yesterday on Monday. Was he there talking to the Cowboys? No clue. Has this been reported on major outlets? Nope. But I have multiple people telling me that Von Miller was in Oxnard. Is he just on vacation with his family? That is a ridiculous coincidence. That would not be the case. He might be there begging for an audience with Jerry. Who knows? But Brooks would certainly be my favorite target here. You know, he's young enough that he would bring you production beyond just this season. I think he's good enough to transform that entire linebacker room. And, you know, the real question, does Dallas finally willing to stop talking like an aggressive franchise and start operating like one? Stephen Jones said the defensive lineup could change. Fine. Jerry Jones says the Cowboys remain open to stars. Great. Now go do something about it. Jordyn Brooks checks every box. Maxx Crosby is the dream. Bobby Wagner is the practical fallback. But Brooks might be the move that tells everybody Dallas is serious without forcing the Cowboys to mortgage the next two drafts. So, yes, Jordyn Brooks may be back on the table. The only question is, are the Cowboys ready to eat? Or are they just setting the table for another month of headlines? We'll see. That's going to do it for today, boys and girls. We'll be back tomorrow with another Dallas Cowboys Daily Blitz with more news from Oxnard, California. Dallas Cowboys training camp. Until then, we'll see ya.